Hi, I'm Ross Shafer, and one of my talk shows was titled Offstage with Ross Shafer. And it's where I literally went backstage to talk to my friends, talk to celebrities, and we shot it in black and white stylistically, not because it was made in the 60s. So today's subject is my very best friend, George Miller, who has since passed. George is hilarious. He's been on the Carson show dozens of times. He was with Dave Letterman dozens of times. But he has one distinction as a stand-up comic that nobody else I know has. That is that he went out on The Tonight Show to do his set. And his first joke bombed. Second joke bombed. He got so frustrated, he turned around and went back through the curtain on The Tonight Show. You have to see what happened. Here's my interview with George Miller.
So you get on the Tonight Show in 1976 for the first time.
George Miller is a young comedian who was with us a couple of months ago, and the audience liked him so much we asked him to come back with us tonight. He has got a delightful manner about him. Would you welcome, please, George Miller?
I don't care for that dear Abby. Boy, she thinks she's hot stuff. A few months ago around the holidays, she says my New Year's resolutions column has become an annual tradition. Well, move over Santa and the Christ child.
So I got on Carson, and then I got on all the other shows. It was kind of like the stamp of approval.
Any job I ever had, though, something would go wrong. 2 years ago, I had a great show business job. I was the MC for Seals and Crofts, who were really a hot singing team. After one show, Seals and Crofts fired me because I had a few drinks, introduced them as arts and crafts.
Every once in a while, new young comedians come on, and you have a gut instinct that they're going to catch on. Now, that's twice he's been on the show, and I think he's going to be dynamite.
After you get on Carson, that was the show, and then the other shows all called. I'd been turned on quite a few times by Merv, you see, and but then
you finally did his show. You did the Merv Griffin show.
Right after that, yeah, right after that. They called, I think, the day after I did Carson, and wanted me to come to Las Vegas. He was taping from Caesar's Palace.
Were you a funny kid?
I was always, I felt bad when I was a kid. My mom liked me. My dad did not like me. I found out at a very early age.
How did he tell you?
Well, one year he hid my Easter basket on the freeway and gave me real good clues.
Oh, that's an awful father.
Yes, he's not a nice person.
You did something that no other comedian has done, and I know this is not a comfortable story for you to tell, but no other comedian that I know has ever come out, started to tell jokes on The Tonight Show, and then walked back through the curtain.
Oh, yeah, I did that. I was the only guy. Well,
in the history of show business.
Yeah, this was in '91, and I'll shorten this story. There's a lot that goes into this story, but I'm always nervous when I go on television. But I didn't seem to be any more nervous that day than usual. And I was backstage talking with Jim McCauley, who's the producer, one of the producers. And as I go out, I kind of blanked. I couldn't. Usually, you can kind of see the set in your head, the jokes in order. But for some reason, I was walking to my mark, and I forgot. I was just blanked out, like you always have that fear of doing. But by the time I hit the mark, I'd remembered. But I was a little off balance because of I was a little out of control there as I walked to my mark. So I fouled up the first joke. It's a joke that would be easy to foul up. Some jokes you never foul up. Some jokes you're more susceptible to a goof. Okay, so now I'm yelling. This is a great idea. So then, so I foul up the first joke, but then I make a reference to it, and Carson laughs. So I'm kind of home free. But I kept thinking about it. So I did the second joke, okay. Well, the third joke's a real difficult joke anyway, and I screwed that up. I kind of blanked in the middle of it. And I was just so disgusted and so, I don't know, frustrated. I just said, I can't do this. And I turned around and left. I went right back behind the curtain. I was just going to go home. I was so...
But if you had gone home, you must have figured, I am finished in show business.
Well, I don't know that you'd be finished in show business, but it would be even more embarrassing than what happened if I had just gone on home.
All right, so now Jim McCauley rushes up to you backstage.
He apparently had gone all the way around real quickly, and I got to watch my posture. He's there, and he says, you got to go back. He said, we'll start from the beginning. We'll stop the tape. Don't repeat any of the jokes or something like that. And I said, no, I got to go. And it was a variety show that night where Johnny was just having on people like a vaudeville show, Lance Burton, the magician, and he had the guy Jeff Dunham, the ventriloquist, and myself, and then maybe somebody else. And
told you you'd ruin the show or something.
Yeah. He got the guilt in me because I was just thinking of myself, and just almost like a kid, Jim said, "You'll ruin our show," and it made me. It says, "Oh, okay." So I turned around, I was real ticked off, and Johnny's yelling at me from backstage. "Are you still back there, George?" And I said, "Yeah," just like I was like he was my father, and I was yeah. And later on, I heard some things that he had said. Apparently, he had said, "Well, folks, this is live television." He said George just lost his timing momentarily. So I said to Macaulay, I says, "Maybe I won't do the same set." I thought maybe I had a mental block now against those jokes. Yeah. But anyway, and the stage hand is yelling at me, "Do you need a minute? Do you need a minute?" And I said, "No." I was just all angry. So anyway, Johnny reintroduces me, and the crowd went nuts. They went crazy. You would have thought I was Bill Cosby because they felt, sympathy for this moron who had walked off the show.
Would you welcome, please, George Miller. George.
So then I turn around and I'm walking back toward Carson, and I make a look like, oh my God. And he just cracks up. I think it was something different for him, right? He probably broke the monotony. I don't know. So I go back, and as I'm sitting down, he says something that only myself and the studio audience would know, and they really laughed when he said it. He says, "George."
Yeah, George, I've never seen you work better. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
He went to the Comedy Store in Los Angeles after moving to LA from Seattle and struck up a friendship with David Letterman.
Yes, I did.
He came from the Midwest, so you had already been doing it. Did you think he was funny?
Yes, I thought when I first saw him on stage, he was great. He was the best I ever saw with an audience as far as audience participation goes, and he was had very good offbeat material, so I thought he was good right off the bat.
He's one of the few people in show business who have helped you along the way.
Not as much as I would have liked. Yeah, he's put me on a show a lot of times.
Herman Bursky, a little bit peculiar. I think you know Herman.
I've met Herman.
A little bit odd. He's a world traveler. He happened to be an unfortunate situation, one of the Iranian hostages.
Sure.
And they kept him over there for, I think it was, 15 months. Mm-hmm. When they finally let him go, Herman stayed over there a couple extra days so he could see the city.
Yeah, he's been pretty good.
I know that some comedians have thought that, George gets on the Letterman show because he's David's friend. I know for a fact that's not true. He wouldn't put you on the show if he didn't think that you were funny.
Well, when they say that, what I always say is that, I've been on David's show about maybe 60, 70 times. I've been on Carson like 40, 50 times. I never really exactly went bowling with Johnny. So,
Unlike other people working today, he constructs very nice, very interesting, very witty, intelligent jokes, whereas other people may be doing physical comedy or observational comedy or sort of just comedic musing that is verbalized. But to just sit down and take a thought that is funny and turn it into just a tiny little joke is a very precise talent.
Then I read this article. It said, your car reflects your personality. I got ticked off. I don't have a car.
Today's my favorite day because I get to watch my favorite program, The Outdoor Sportsman. Boy, if there's anything I can't get enough of, it's televised fishing. Why don't they just show somebody mowing their lawn? Hey, you want to watch the Super Bowl? Are you kidding? This guy's about to bait his hook.
George Miller, my old friend George Miller, and living proof that you can still get a good haircut at the barber college.
Hey, George, what's Dave Letterman really like?
It's pretty much the same. Very smart, very funny, very sarcastic, very ambitious, very hard worker, he's pretty extreme on everything, very competitive.
And you like him anyway?
Sometimes. Yeah, I think we were probably best friends for several years, maybe from like 75 to maybe 83, 84.
George knows things about me that nobody else knows. and I know things about George which I've reported to the police.
David Letterman once introduced me on his show. He said, George Miller looks like the kind of a guy who sits next to a stranger on a bus and says, hey, are you going to finish that sandwich?
He and I can compare notes and share details of our experiences in comedy and show business, and it's just progressed that way through the years. And I feel, with George, completely comfortable with him. But he's nuts. I mean, there's no getting around that. He's gone.
There's a lot of rumors about Letterman. I don't think the rumor is true that just before he makes love, he always says, let's get on with it, shall we?
So, George, where do you find your humor?
I'm like David. We were just talking about this recently. He loves insult humor. He loves anything that's putting down others. Or if a guy does a good insult joke on me, I'll really laugh. He will, too. I've always loved Don Rickles. I've always loved Mort Saul, who in a way is a put-down. He's just making fun of everything. He's not doing it to your face, but Mort Saul has always been my favorite comedian. So anything with a little bit of a bite or a little bit of a kick.
You know the woman I always wanted to meet? Sybil. Multiple personalities. The thing is good. It kind of evens out. Makes up for some of the people who have none.
Yeah, I do some sick jokes, or what some people would consider sick jokes. I don't think they're very sick.
If I suffer from hemorrhoids, Preparation H is going to be right by my side. Well, he's going to suffer because he's not using it correctly.
And what about that Lorena Bobbitt deal? What about that deal? See, some couples have pet names for the guy's manhood. I always wondered if the Clintons did that, see. Then I saw an actual headline. President goes a year without using veto.
You are the only comedian that I know of who actually made a living as a pool hustler.
I did, yeah, that's absolutely true. A meager living.
A meager living.
Yeah, I was never a tournament player, but I played, we figured it out the other day, actually. In the 60s, I was probably in the top 20 of pool players in Seattle.
But George found out that as far as his mother was concerned, anything was better than hustling pool.
She always really hated me to be playing pool. She just said, what am I going to tell people? You just play pool, you hustle around like that. And so then when I always tell this story, it's basically true that when I first started working then over at the Colony Club, my first comedian job, I said, I don't think I'll be playing pool as much anymore. And she said, well, what are you going to be doing? And I said, I'll be telling dirty stories to drunk people in dark rooms, and she was very happy.
Oh, yeah, great. And that's the simple cereal. Like cornflakes is real complicated. Hey, want cornflakes? Oh, no thanks. I don't want to get in over my head.
How long can you do this? How long will you do this?
This interview? About another 2 minutes. I don't know. What, doing stand-up?
Stand-up comedy.
I don't know. You got, I remember Leonard Barr. Do you remember Leonard Barr?
No, I don't remember.
He used to work at the Comedy Store when he was like in his 70s. He was Dean Martin's uncle. Don't you remember that guy? So anyway, George Carlin's still doing it, and I think you can see there's guys like George Carlin, to me, he's never like a guy who goes out of style. Like some comedians just say, oh, that's old style. Yeah. Well, he's not like that, and hopefully I'm not either. I'm hoping my jokes will still, because I always kind of pride myself that I can get a young crowd, 18, 19 years old, and still do good with them. So I think I can keep going. I don't know.
And my favorite television question of all time, excuse me, do you have any Grey Poupon? No, I just had a physical. I'm feeling much better. Enjoyed talking to you. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot.
Yes, sir. Yeah, George, I've never seen you work better.